vertically aligned. And so we have about 60 central standards that we want all of our kids to know before they go to 4th grade, okay? Those are the ones that we hit hard and heavy, okay? And then the other ones we consider like butterfly lessons, because as you teach Eureka, they will get really deep the further you get into the module, okay? Especially with fractions, I mean, all that. And so like literally our school has taken the mindset that we are going to teach all of the lessons that Eureka tells us to teach, okay? That doesn't mean I spend a lot of time teaching every one of the lessons that I'm required to teach, okay? Does that make sense? Because some of these fractions ones you're gonna see, woohoo, way over their head, okay? So I introduce it to them. In 4th grade, they get introduced to it again. So by the time they've been exposed to it like 3 or 4 times, it's great, okay? Now, one thing we did notice this year was the kids are getting the terms, okay? So like when we say make an array, we're gonna use a tape diagram, we're gonna do this. This is their 4th year doing it. I'm like, okay, this one's a tape diagram, and they're like, oh yeah, I know a tape diagram. And so like, they just get it, you know? And so by the time you use that terminology from kindergarten all the way through, they may have been doing it for addition and subtraction. Now we're transitioning to teach them for multiplication and division, okay? So, but they get the terms. So you drawing the picture, the first year's gonna be hard, okay? Because it's all gonna be new. And so you're gonna have to go a little bit slower and show them what a tape diagram is, because they've never seen it before. By the time you have the kids coming from 1st grade, 2nd grade, they're gonna know what you're talking about, okay? So that's what, my lessons this year took like 15 minutes. I'm not kidding. Like I was like, okay. And they start getting that math brain, okay? And so our 6 essential standards that we do, okay, those are the ones that we test them on each, like 9 weeks. We sit there, addition and subtraction, obviously, multiplication and division, time, and money. Okay, those are the 6 that we spend almost all year drilling into them.
Okay.
Can you repeat that? Yes, addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, time and money, okay? The ones that life skills, pretty much, okay? So those are the ones that we're gonna spend our whole year working on, okay? And so when I talk about fractions, when we get to the fractions module, we're gonna teach it because they need to know it for the test, they need to know it for that, but I'm not gonna stress over every single child having 100% grasp on that. Does that make sense? Okay, so here is what, I'm just gonna kind of go through some things. When we send stuff over to Root, we have like a module. I gave her copies of this. It's like module 1, okay? I send it tape bound. They're perforated. They can tear them out. Tape bound is okay because you're only gonna have it for maybe 2 months, a month, whatever, and then they take it home. Okay, so it's not an all year thing. And if you send over a spiral request to Root, it's pretty slow. Okay, so tape is the way to go if you can. Okay, we've had them a couple years now and they do pretty good. Okay, kind of going through it. Multiplication module 1, you will figure out takes a while because you are teaching them multiplication. Okay, they get it because they're used to addition and subtraction. They will get it. It's just the whole concept behind Eureka is literally math brain people trying to teach non-math brain people like me how to solve math problems. That's the whole point, okay? And so last year I really pushed with the kids because you'll see in module 1 they teach you how to solve 2 times 4 using an array. And then a couple problems later you'll see them doing 2 times 4 using a tape diagram. And then you'll see them do it as a number bond. And you're like, good Lord, how many ways do we have to learn how to do 2 times 4? You know, but the point is, and I stressed to the kids last year, guys, if the array works for you, use the array to solve it, okay? If the tape diagram works for you, use the tape diagram, you know, but I have to show it to you because maybe you didn't like this one, but you like this one better, okay? So if you go in with that mindset where it's like, I'm just showing you a tool, I'm just showing you a way to solve this math problem, then you don't have to, they don't have to 100% every single kid in class get it. Does that make sense? If they've got their array figured out, don't make them master the tape diagram too. Okay, does that make sense? It's just a tool. Some of them will be like, oh, I love that to teach these kids to solve these math problems. But it's you exposing them to different techniques. Okay, some of them will get it this way, some of them will get it that way. Whatever works. Okay? And so I do tell them you have to try. Even though you may not like using a number bond, you gotta try it, because maybe one day when we get further on, you may have to use the number bond to solve something. Okay, so I still make them try it. Okay, that took me 2 years to figure out, so that's like a hint right there that'll save you 2 years of stress. Okay, because the first 2 years I thought they all had to literally master each one of those techniques, and so they don't. It's just teaching them how to solve it. Okay. And then once you get the foundation of Module 1 with that multiplication, it seems like it flies after that. Module 1 will be slow, okay, because you're laying a lot of groundwork.
So like time-wise, what are we talking?
I feel like Module 1 takes me a month and a half. You know, it does. It takes me, I feel like I'm on Module 1 forever, okay? Then Module 2, I fly through it 3. Last year, it's a weird year, but last year we were through Module 6 before spring break. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we were
Doing every single lesson?
Mhm.
So don't get discouraged because module 1 takes such
Yes,
a-
you sit there and you look at your overall year and you're like, holy cow, I'm never gonna get through all of these. But I'm not kidding you, Module 1 is laying the groundwork. You are teaching them multiplication, which some of them may have gotten second grade if they were higher level, you know, but you're teaching your whole class how to do multiplication. And then Module 3 rolls around and it's just multiplication with different numbers. So you fly through that one because you're reviewing tape diagram, number bond, all that stuff. Okay, so like I said, Module 1 will take, you will feel like, oh good Lord, we're never gonna get through all these modules, because if Module 1 is this long, but the rest of them are pretty good. Okay, now a couple questions you guys had, I gotta stick to those, okay. The biggest and most important question, okay, how to align the modules, okay. Like I said before, third grade is probably horrible at aligning modules. I mean, aligning with our standards. So what we have done is we went through and we literally, did I give that to you?
Here, no, you didn't give it to me.
Did I give that to you? Hopefully. You guys have it. We went through where Eureka aligns them, and we made notes on where, oh, it's right there. We made notes on where we needed to fill in gaps.
Yeah, we have that too.
Okay.
This one.
So I have a copy for you guys, okay? And so this is my little chicken scratch notes on the side, okay? So it goes through and I'm like, okay, so for read, write, discuss, and represent whole numbers up to 100,000. Well, that's really covered in module grade 4, okay? But we've come up with other ways to try and fill it. And I put in here on my notes, need to go to 100,000, because what our standard is we gotta make sure we get to the 100,000. Okay, so I'll have a copy, this is y'all's copy, and so that has my chicken scratch notes in it so you guys can kind of see, okay? What we've done is we literally have morning work that we spend probably more time working on than our Eureka, okay? So a couple years ago we bought this, it's what we call a 9 square. Every morning they come in and it has 9 problems, okay? It does, this is place value, okay? This one has to do with the standard form, clock, 100 before, 100 less. It starts low and it gets more intense as we go along, okay? And then it has the shapes, which would be module 7, you know? And so it also has addition, subtraction, has a couple, what's this one? Oh, it's doing the numbers in written form. And so what we've done is every morning when they come in, I give them about 10 minutes to work on this, okay? We grade it in class, okay, and we go over it, because this is hitting those gaps that Eureka is not covering, okay? And then there's, what we've figured out is about every 5, one of these boxes changes. So on the 5th one, I give them a quiz. I use the 5th one as a quiz to kind of see how they're doing, okay? And I have a copy of this for you guys. You guys can have this, okay? So, but we go through this and we do this all year long, okay? And when I know that I need to get to 100,000 because my Eureka doesn't cover it, I make sure as I go along through these, I'm getting to the 100,000. So I may even be like, okay, I'm only on 10,000. I may, as we're talking about that box, I may be like, okay, let's say I put another, I work on getting to the 100,000. Does that make sense? So I'm covering it by doing this, okay? So this is y'all's, and I'll work on doing it.
Do you know if we're gonna be able to get something like that, like it's in like
Well, it could
a
make
bound? I mean, I know we can make copies of it, but like if we could get it like in a,
I can,
Yeah, something that's
if we
bound
got off
like
teacher
that.
pay teacher, I can just send you the file. You may have to just, I don't know y'all's budget or whatever, but we had to make copies for the longest time, okay? And so I don't know if y'all have a copy number. We have a copy limit that so we send a lot to Root because I can only do 3,000 copies for the month, okay? So we have a copy limit because we have a printer. So you guys may not have a copy limit, and it may be something you work on, you do it on the board, it's just, that's just tools for you guys, I don't know.
Is that one for all year?
Yes,
Okay. I'll have to count pages. We're at counting pages right now.
I
That's what I'm doing.
understand completely. But, so, anyway, we use that.
But I'd love to know the teacher pay teacher resource you did with that.
Okay, I can send it to you, cause
Okay.
we've gone through it, and it's like, it lines, it's like, it hits those gaps in our Eureka, cause there's a lot of gaps, you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like everybody's like, oh, ours aligns really well. Yeah, ours doesn't align at all, so we've had to come up with some resources to kind of, fill those gaps. And so that's a morning work, they come in every morning, and it's like, they work on that, we grade it, and I spend a decent amount of time going over it with them. Okay, like we grade the 4 in class, and then do what you want with it. Sometimes we even self-grade the 5th one and we just turn it in because I'm a big advocate of they learn from their mistakes. So I have a mark on there where they messed up. I have them, we correct our work as we go. Okay, so however you do your class is great, but we even self-grade sometimes the 5th one so that they can, see where they're messing up. If we worked 4 days on it, we're still getting it wrong, we need to figure out why we're messing up. So, and not every skill changes every time. It's usually 1 to 2 skills, and they think it's fun to try and figure out which box changed, so we make a game out of it.
So do you have them tear it every time?
We do, well, we'll do like front and back, and then we'll take it home, cause
Okay.
they grade it. Parents like to see graded paper, so we take it home as graded work, and it's all good.
So the problem that changes isn't something that they should have already.
It usually they'll have it, like sometimes it'll be, I think in the first part, we start with like single digit, like 2-digit addition, and then it'll go to 3-digit addition. It starts out pretty simple, and then sometimes a couple of them it gets them because it has a box up there for their borrowing, because borrowing in 3rd grade is like, they've never learned it before. And so there's a box up there showing them to regroup. And then the box stays there, but they don't have to regroup.
Oh, totally.
And then it's like, they're like, I don't know what to put in the box. And it's like, it's because there's a box there doesn't mean you have to put something in it, So it's fun to watch them try and, it tries to trick them. That's what I tell them all year. It's like, 3rd grade, we're all about tricking you guys. Because on the reading test, they try to trick you. The math test, we try to trick you. It's all about seeing how, how well you can actually read and figure things out. That's the whole point of 3rd grade is just seeing if y'all can.
It's mostly paying attention.
Exactly. So that's what we've come up with that, and this is just another one, and it's not as, this one's just an additional one. It's Mountain Math. I'm sure y'all have seen Mountain Math over the years, maybe. But it's one that, it's actually online. It's a program that we get, that the school pays for. This year, we printed it out because we pull it up on the board, and I have a lot of kids that struggle transitioning from something on the board to writing it on a piece of paper. So, and I have slow ones that I want to move on to something else. I can't keep my smartboard pulled up with these 5 little steps for the next 30 minutes. And so they can work on this while it's at their desk. Okay, so it's similar. I'll pass it around, y'all can look at it. But it has about 24 skills on it, the same skills each time, and it has questions that go with it. The pictures just change. Okay, and so it has to do with, again, place value, multiplication, measurement. It's covering a lot of those gaps. Okay, so you can look at that one if you guys, that's y'all's too.
So when do you use this during the day?
Small group. And then
So, pull small groups.
I'll have them work on it like as a small group station, and then we will pull them back. Like sometimes I'll pull them back and we'll just quickly check it, or we'll check it as a whole group right before the end of small group is over. I've had them turn it in, and I just glance over it, you know, to see, because that one's slow to incorporate. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that one, I may wait till second 9 weeks to start doing that one, because that's a lot of independent work for third graders. You know, so usually that one's a lot slower to come into play. It has a lot of good information on it, but it's a lot slower to get incorporated into class, just because that's a lot of independent work for them to be doing.
So how many centers do you have?
I don't have very many. I really don't. I have maybe 2 or 3.
Are we able to do centers?
You know, and it's more like stations. We call it stations, but we may not even get to do that this
Yeah.
year. So,
I can see
They-
if the teacher could rotate if you were wearing a face shield.
yeah. And it's something, sometimes I don't like a lot of noise in my class as far as craziness. I try, but that's just not me. So a lot of it is, they do a lot of it at their desk. They may sit with a partner and work on it together, but I am not a kindergarten first grade teacher. I can't handle all of that chaos. And so, sometimes they just, you know, they have the freedom, you know, like I'm sitting at the small group table working with a couple of kids, but they're not up running amok. I'm not gonna lie, I can't handle it. So, you know, that may just be something that's up on the board and they're working on it independently while I'm pulling kids back, and then they may be working on something else independently, you know, while I'm pulling a couple of kids back at a time to work on some other skills. Okay, so I am not that teacher. I've tried. I am not that teacher that has a rotator. I've tried it several times. I just can't do it. I don't have it in me. I apologize. But those are some ways that we've worked on pulling in the standards that are missing.
So you don't actually go to other grades and pull those lessons in?
No. We, as a school, we've taken the stance that we are gonna teach the modules just like they told us, okay? And so, now there are some lessons that were pulled out because the pacing guide says that if da-da-da-da-da,
Right.
you know. Now, there are 3, I'm gonna show you, there are 3 out of module 2 that we decided was a lot easier to teach in science than, these, like in 6, 7, or 9. It includes bringing out water in, you know, the beakers and all that stuff, and
That's, yeah, we kind of just.
yes, we decided we will cover those in science, okay? We, as a team, made that decision because, you know, that's a lot, you know, to cover in your little math lesson time that you have. Okay, so we teach those, actually, I think it's just teaching them about milliliters and liters and grams, and you cover that in science anyway.
So when you print the modules, do you not include the ones?
Correct. I've pulled all those out, so
Okay.
that is exactly what I would send to Root to print.
Okay.
Okay, and so, that's exactly what I would send to them. It's got the pages pulled out that you don't need and that kind of stuff. Okay? Okay, another question we got. You skip combined only lessons.
Is this mine or ours?
Yeah, you can keep
Okay.
them, so, yeah. Let's see. Combine only lessons, skipping, or if they found other lessons to take out. Okay, answer that. Do they pull